Hey everyone, welcome to the voice mood. Do you have singing questions? Well, that's what we're here to do, answer your singing questions. So go ahead, grab a seat, grab your coffee or, a glass of wine or a glass of water, some sparkling water, whatever. Diet Coke, whatever tickles your fancy, and let's talk about singing. It's going to be a great Q&A today. I'm super excited. Today, we're talking about a variety of things. Check it out. We've got a Facebook group you can join on YouTube. There's lots of links you can check out. You can join through there or look up the Voice Mood on Facebook and join the students on there. We've got a great little community. I like to post little daily things so that you can stay accountable on your singing journey. On the agenda today, we're going to talk about some of the things that we talk about in the voice studio. So if you're a student, I pull from that and some of my lessons. And there's sometimes a common thread between the students and what they're thinking about. We're going to talk about music business, studio singing versus singing live. Interesting conversation that I think everybody will love. Your learning pace and some of the workshop highlights. Today was a special day. I had a workshop, a group workshop, always learning something new from the group classes because for the longest time online, I have taught individual one-on-ones, and every once in a while lately I've been doing these workshops, and that's been really cool because you're able to see what other people are struggling with and other beginners, and I really love that. So fun, fun, fun. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A. If y'all have a question about singing, go ahead, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. In the meantime, I have some topics that I can throw in here. But of course, if you have questions, go ahead and ask. So one of the topics that came up in the Facebook group and with my students this week is the biz, music business. Check it out. We've got some of our favorites right here. Chapel and Lady Gaga. There's like this rumor going around that Lady Gaga pretended to be her own manager and would call places in New York and be like, "Hey, you gotta play this girl. She's awesome. She's the next hot thing, you know?" That's what Lady Gaga was doing before she had a manager, representing herself. And Chapel apparently didn't have a manager for like the longest time, like up until the last minute. So she was doing everything on her own. And that's very typical. I mean, there's a gazillion musicians out there and creatives. And a lot of the time you're self-promoting and you're doing everything yourself. Maybe you're even mixing your music yourself. So, really talking about the business this week and what all that entails. So, it's really important that when we're talking about music business, it's like, what are your goals? Do you want to be the next hot thing, or do you just want to be able to perform in front of people? Do you want to just be able to sing well to yourself, or do you want to be able to sing to a huge crowd of people? Your goals are going to be different based on what you want to achieve. So let me know in the comments or in the chat if what's going on with you and if you have any goals that you would like to talk about. Also, representing yourself before you have management, yeah, it's hard. And creating an audience. So that's what a lot of people struggle with. How do you build an audience right from scratch? So you see a lot of times these days, a lot of these musicians, they will have a TikTok, they'll have a YouTube channel, and they'll have these things totally unrelated to the music they're making. They're doing funny skits, they're doing commentary videos, they're, doing photography, whatever, more entertaining type things disconnected to their music. And there's a strategy behind that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit right now. So let's look at that for a second. All right. So cultivating an audience. Here are some strategies, y'all. And look, go ahead, look at my YouTube. It hasn't blown up or anything. I'm not the expert in marketing, but I do see some patterns and have done a little research on this. And this is not necessarily rocket science. But I want to point some things out here, okay? Providing value in your content. So, whether it's humor, inspiration, education, or you're showing some sort of journey, you're on a journey, people are on a journey with you. That all of those things are very common. When you see a post, and I'm talking about the internet because that's where a lot of us are having to gain an audience these days, even coaches or teachers, creatives of all kinds. We're on the internet, right? How do you build an audience? Well, providing value is the way to build a following. Whether people are getting tips from you, they're laughing with you or at you, I guess. Like the rectangular guy. I am rectangular. Yeah, I've seen him. He's providing value because he's making you laugh. Serious for him. But anyways, there are other people doing humor in other ways, less interesting. Okay. And then education, giving people tips. This is my journey. That's a hero's journey. Talk about where you came from to where you are now. Started at the bottom, now we here. Okay. Confuse and lose, y'all. Graphics, if you're putting graphics on your videos, if you're putting text on your videos, make sure this sounds so simple that you can read it. What font are you using? Wingdings? Like, what is this? Tiny, tiny font? Make sure your font is legible and everyone can read it and everybody gets what it is right away and doesn't have to wait, even just a couple seconds to see what it is. You want to put bold at the top. You can read it. Maybe do the text that has like a background behind it so that people can see what it is. Okay, that's really important because if they can't read it, they're going to be like, whatever, scroll. So if you want to build an audience, that's some of the stuff you have to start thinking about. And if you're making a video, like me, I'm rambling on. Yeah. You don't want to do that, right? For short form. For long form, people are hanging out, might be invested. If you're trying to garner attention, you really have to at first be really clear on what's going on. So they're like, oh, okay. And I'll sit here and watch it. But if they're like, what is this? Where are you? Who are you? Why are you doing this? It has to have a point. So if it's a tip, get into it right away. Okay. As I ramble. Okay. Create relationships. That's where you might have heard of parasocial relationships, whatever, and why this does get dicey, I guess. But the reason that happens is because essentially those those artists that do have a following generally do have a pretty tight-knit relationship with their fans. Like, Chapel, she would do these. I talked about this with one of my students this week, 3-hour live streams on TikTok. Yeah, she developed some sort of relationship with them, whether it was super personal or not. It's just something to think about. People wanna know who you are, your struggles, and it doesn't have to get that deep, but see who you truly are. Because if all you're doing is just showing them what you do, like if all I did was be like, hey, sign up for my class, I don't know if y'all get that reference, but that's all I did on YouTube. Sign up for my class. Okay, see ya. You'd be like, who are you? We don't know who you are. So that's the point. You have to like kind of get people to wanna hang out and like honestly hang out. That's the wrong word, but you wanna build that trust. Build trust. Okay. Another thing to remember is your friends in real life might not be your audience. Ooh, truth hurts, but it is true. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The World Wide Web is amazing. It's huge. And yeah, it's okay. Yeah, maybe your friends have slightly different music tastes or different movie tastes. That's all right. But we can't like base our likability or how good we are based on kind of what our friends say and their advice because they're a pretty small pool and we're not looking to necessarily collaborate with them or make them listen to all our music. They're our friends. They're to support us emotionally, to be with us on our journey, but we're not necessarily basing everything off of what they're saying. If they do say like, "Hey man, um it's all going to your head," that kind of stuff. Like maybe that's when you would want to listen to your friends and make sure they keep you grounded, that kind of thing. But just know that your friends might not show up to your shows all the time. They might not like all the music you put out or all the videos I put out. I don't expect everyone in my family to watch all my videos because it's not really for my family and friends. It's for what I do, teaching. And unless they are taking singing lessons from me, it's different. Okay. Different platforms have different audiences. So, and y'all ask me questions about any of this stuff or about singing in the chat. We're talking about music business right now and marketing right now, but we can definitely switch gears here. But remember, different platforms have different audiences, and there's kind of a different vibe. LinkedIn versus YouTube versus TikTok. I think we all know the vibe of all those. So, where you are meeting people virtually and building that audience matters a lot because, for instance, when I was doing singing tips on TikTok versus really building a community on YouTube, it's two different outcomes. And so, something to think about. Something to think about. Okay, moving right along here. Thank y'all for stopping in. Ooh, this is a good topic that came up with students this week. Studio singing versus singing live. I'm going to go back a little bit so you can see the examples of those singers right there. All right, so we had Billie Eilish and we had Alicia Keys, two singers which we know, or at least I know they don't sing the same live necessarily as they do in the studio. So that's the Billie Eilish example. A student brought that up today. A new student brought that up. He's like, I know that Billie Eilish does not sing the same in the studio because I'm a producer and I can hear that it's totally different approach to singing. It's a lot more subdued. Than when she's on stage, she might be adding a lot more intensity on stage. And that's because in the studio, she's able to really maximize the sound with very, very little effort. Whereas on stage, she might have to do that expression and build that climax in a song with her vocals more than in the studio where she's got the support of the instruments and the effects and everything like that and the layering happening there. Alicia Keys, I remember I watched a video of her singing, I think This Girl's on Fire or something, and her song was brought down. So it in the studio she recorded it like I think it's "This girl is on fire," and then live it was like "This girl is on fire." It was two different things. So people do that all the time. Somebody said today, one of my students said, Chapel Roan live will sing "Good luck, babe," instead of the original is "Good luck, babe, good luck, babe." One of my students brought that up today. They make choices to cater to different settings. In the studio, she can dial down the intensity. She can do a bunch of takes. She can do the recording when she's feeling at her best. Whereas on stage, it's like, well, we're live. We're live. So you got to just adjust to that. Anyway, something to think about. Something to think about for sure. Y'all go ahead, ask your questions. I feel like I have to bring that up so you guys know if we have new people coming in. Hi, hello. My name is Olivia, and I'm a voice coach, been a voice teacher for about 10 years, and I'm very happy you're here. All right, so this is just some other things maybe I didn't mention. In the studio, you've got layering, harmonies, live singing. You don't have all that layering. Also, live, you might be singing and dancing, singing and playing an instrument. Playing with a band is different than singing in the studio. Another thing it says at the bottom here, use live singing more for reference. So when you're studying a singer and maybe the size of breaths they're taking or their volume, their approach, watch a live video. Watch a live video because that's going to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing in real time than watching a video of them singing, in a music video where it's a studio recording, because they're two different things. Something to think about. And the reason for that is the two different approaches, right? To studio versus live. They are close. I don't want to make it sound like, oh my gosh, they're wildly different. They're not necessarily wildly different. There's just different choices. And they can be pretty different. They can be. I would say singing live is a little bit more involved, a little more athletic, a little more about you have to pace yourself in a different way. So moving right along. Workshop highlights. Yes, today we had a great workshop, had a nice little group, and we talked about these things. So if you didn't see my Find Your Sound series, it's just 3 videos, and they're great. They're, how to find your sound, the basics, mostly catering to contemporary singing, microphone singing. And I pull from one of my influences these days, Matt Edwards. He made a great video about light versus medium and heavy voices. Maybe you've heard of that, maybe not. Very interesting stuff. Different ways to look at chest voice, mixed voice, and head voice. Do you know what those are? Do y'all know what chest voice, mixed voice, and head voice are? Let me know in the comments if you know chest voice, mixed voice, head voice, and knowing when to use them, and some of the challenges that come up when you're learning all this stuff. So some of the things that came up in the workshop is, how do you know how much breath to use? How do you know how to transition between chest and mixed voice and stuff like that? So we were doing some slides. If this is the kind of stuff that you think would really help you, the workshops are so great. What is even more streamlined is doing one-on-ones with me or a voice teacher. So definitely reach out if you want to do a voice lesson with me. There's a link for that in the YouTube description, or you can just message me on whatever platform. However, a lot of the topics we talked about today, it's really nice to see other people and to know, like, oh, wow, I'm not alone in trying to navigate this, because there's a lot of information out there on singing, right? Like, so much. It can be very overwhelming. And there's some sort of contradictory information out there, especially with like mixed voice. And I like to say mixed voice is like the glue that holds pop singing, rock singing together. It's that flexible meow, 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 meow. I'm on the edge of glory. If you know how to use your mixed voice, you can really do a lot of stuff when it comes to that type of singing. So anyway, talking about that, subscribe. Yep. Join the channel if it interests you. If this is the stuff that interests you, definitely don't. If you are like just doing it to be nice or something. Okay, this is a great question. At Fender Fox asks or says, thank you for helping answer my question. We were talking to him last week. I was messing around with more nasal resonance the last 24 hours and finding a happy medium with having the sound come out comfortably, and I'm slowly figuring it out. I was messing with the song Loving, Touching, Squeezing by Journey. We love Journey, y'all. And I'm the higher parts. I'm moving in the higher parts. I'm moving the resonance up into nasal forward a little more than normal at the same time, thinking forward and not in my throat, and it has made a huge improvement. So just a pause there. What he's saying is like, if I don't actually, that song, I don't really know it, but I'll use a different Journey song. I'll do the what's the famous one? Don't Stop Believin'. Don't stop believing. So instead of doing don't stop believing down here, he's saying he's putting it here. Don't stop believing. That kind of thing. So anyway, then we've got, let's see what else he's saying. I know there's not one perfect lesson that will fix my voice and make me a perfect singer overnight, but every little win when it comes to technique is a huge win in the scope of singing. I love that. I just want to share that with you guys. The other night at my gig, he did 3 new songs in front of a crowd. 3 months ago, I would have never been able to do these songs, so I'm confident I'm making huge improvements on the high notes one day at a time. Appreciate the help. Awesome. So really love stories like that because it's very encouraging. When you make huge strides, sometimes you don't notice it right away until you're like, wait, I couldn't do that. I could not do that 3 months ago, and it just happens. So love to see it. Thank you, Fender Fox, for your comment. If y'all have any questions, for sure, jump in the chat. Jump in the chat. It's a sleepy week this week, all across the board, so no pressure. Okay. I love to rewatch. Nicole says, I love to rewatch videos like this one after moving forward with my singing and understand it in a new way. Timbre is so much clearer after gaining a better grasp of placement and lifting. Yes. Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciated that comment because, yeah, learning is complicated, especially with singing, because especially for me with mixed voice, and I think a lot of people have this with mixed voice as well, or singing your mid range, sometimes it doesn't click right away. And you have to try different things, and then you can kind of come back and more things make sense. Does that happen to you all when you start to learn about anything, a subject, and then the more you learn about it, you're able to go back and kind of revisit some stuff that now with a fresh pair of eyes, you're able to really have that satisfaction of, "Oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. I get it." Right? That happens. That happens. It's really cool. So that's why you just kind of have to keep going even when it gets hard. Okay. All right, I just pointed this one out because I wanted to tell y'all about, since we're talking about content creation a little bit with the marketing. And if this is something you want to venture into, this will springboard into equipment territory. She said, Nat7700, great video. Also, your makeup is chef's kiss, literally flawless. Thank you so much. But really, y'all, it's the ring light. Right now, my setup is kind of weird. So the lighting is not as good. And you can tell. Everybody's like zooming in. Ugh. No, it's fine. I'm not here for the fashion show. But yeah, when the ring light is set up in a nice way, it looks really good. It's a total hack, and it has a thing for you to put your phone on. It's a tripod. Makes your stuff look really good. It's a newer ring light. The reason I say that too is in my YouTube description, I've got my affiliate links. Yeah. So yes, I earn a commission when you click on things, but actually, get something that will help you. So I handpick all that stuff, and I have a whole section on equipment that I stand by. And one of those things is actually an amp that I recently got that's amazing for solo artists who want to plug in their guitar, their piano, and their microphone. So if you're interested in really starting that up, then I would start with that equipment because for beginners, but a little bit more polished. Like you want some good quality stuff. It's not just like random, the highly recommended stuff on Amazon necessarily. It's like stuff that I use and that has lasted me and that I really like to use as a creator and as a musician who does everything myself. Okay. Moving on. All right. So lessons and voice memos, that's one thing. Y'all can definitely reach me on my website, oliviapeck.com. We can sign up for a lesson or send me a voice memo. I have people from all over the world who send me voice memos. So you can do that. Link is in the description as well. All right. So this is a pretty fun little Q&A. Y'all ask your questions. Had a great time doing a fun uh workshop today, Find Your Sound workshop. So, very very fun. Okay, we have a question here. Hey, Olivia Peck, I have a Fender Acoustic Junior amp that has to plug in for guitar and mic. Oh, love that. I love that. Yeah, so great recommendation. Yeah, if you guys have equipment recommendations, I always go through and look up what you guys recommend, and then I decide if I want to add it to my like list of stuff. Like pedals, I just found out recently about a loop pedal actually. I think it's called the, oh my gosh, double something times two. My pedal people will know. It's a looper pedal. So, I'm about to add that one because it was recommended to me by someone who loves it and I trust them. So that kind of thing. Looping is a really cool thing to learn. That's something I'm learning right now. So if you're interested in what that is, there are actual loop artists, and they're people who are kind of one man bands, and they will build off of a loop. So they'll play the bass line, record it, it'll loop. They'll play a guitar part, it'll loop, and then they'll sing on top of it. And that's a loop artist. Okay, so Chris says that the Fender Acoustic Junior amp is only like 300 bucks. Nice. It also has a loop station in my amp. Oh, that's very cool. That was unexpected. I did not expect you to say it also has a loop station, because that's really cool, and that's kinda rare. Like, you don't really see that on a lot of amps. None of the ones I looked at the music store recently had loop capabilities. There's different ways to do looping, y'all. So, there's, it can be built into some of your other equipment, or a lot of people recommend it's on a pedal because then it's hands-free. Um, so, yeah. Ed Sheeran loops a lot. I did not know that. Didn't know that. Um, I I had a friend in Las Vegas. He was on The Voice. His name was Ryan White Maloney, and he passed this year. And he was my inspiration to learn how to loop because he was a loop artist. So look him up. He is from my hometown, Traverse City. He has an amazing voice, amazing voice. He recorded and produced his own music, and he he would sing that song, when the lights go down in the city, I just want to be there. It was so pretty when he did it. And he would do it with his looping and his guitar, but he would sing it because he missed home. He missed our hometown, Traverse City. And both of us at the time just happened to live in Las Vegas. And he knew my mom and stuff because she worked at the radio station, and she still does. But anyways, so it's just a cool story about Ryan, and I just want to share that about him. So you all or people might check him out because he has a very very cool story, and I want his music to live on, and I think you'll be inspired by him too. But yeah, he was on The Voice, Ryan White Maloney. All right. Any questions about singing, guys? Singing, equipment, the biz? I actually had somebody also recently say, "Hey, do you know anything about getting managers or anything?" And not really. So I do film acting. So I have like an agent for film, for movies, TV shows, and stuff. And as far as music goes, I'm a voice teacher. I teach technique, how and elements of songwriting, different types of techniques depending on what you want to do. And of course, maybe getting to that next step of finding a manager. So it has Bluetooth. You can use the amp for recording to your PC USB. Well, hey, that's awesome. I love Bluetooth. Who doesn't love Bluetooth? And USB. This is a USB mic I'm using right now. It's a condenser mic. It's got a little microphone. It's good because it picks up everything. Like my air conditioning, maybe? No. It picks up everything. So in a pinch is great. It's good for teaching lessons because it'll pick up a little bit of background if I have to like play a song on my phone, like, hey, have you heard this? So it's good for stuff like that. Now, if I were to record in a room that's not treated like this one, this mic isn't the best. I would use like a Shure mic, which I actually have in my little catalog of in my affiliate links, whatever. But you'll find them, and that's the one I'm recommending. The Shure brand, they have tons of amazing mics. Like my other performance mic is by the SM 58, I think. That one is awesome too. That's great for performing live as like the gold standard. And I have to say though, the microphone stand that comes with it is, I don't know. I got it with the stand because I needed another stand, and I happily got the package with the stand, and it comes, I think, with a cable as well and a little pouch. It's great. I love all of it, but the stand, it's okay. I mean, it's basic. There's another stand that I have that was like 25 bucks, and it's actually like way easier to use. All right, so Chris has a Shure 52B. Yeah, y'all tell us your equipment. I want to know what's going on out there, what everybody's using. Thank y'all for joining me. Yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. It's been a great day of teaching. It's been a long week. I've got a little gig tomorrow playing at a little film festival. It's just a local gig. I'm really excited. We've got a question here. Any advice to sing the low notes? Yeah, so good question, Ahmed Dabur. Thank you for joining us. When you're singing low notes, you want to tap into your speaking voice first. So, speaking voice. Some people, they get stuck singing up here. They think singing is just stuck in their head voice, like, and they can't get out of it. Now, relax into your chest voice, your speaking voice. And then another thing to think about is that like sort of sigh feeling, or like the beginning of a yawn. Lift that soft palate a little bit, lower the larynx maybe a little bit, not too much. You don't want to be like, oh. One thing about singing low notes, though, I have to say, not only does it take a little extra air sometimes, the vocal folds are kind of vibrating at a slower speed, and it takes a little more air to keep them vibrating, but it also is kind of limiting based on who we are. Like singing higher is generally something that we can find a way. We can find a way, but even there's a limit. Low notes, you might hit sort of a cap. Speaking of caps, Christopher Lee Caps has a comment, but let me know if that helps, Ahmed, because I want to know what you're thinking. If you want to provide any more details for us, go right ahead. I'm learning to loop and writing my own songs. I decided not to focus on my mix, but my sweet spot voice, A2 to E4 in chest. Great. That's awesome. It's great, y'all, when you can find like your sweet spot, It's really important. Instead of reinventing the wheel sometimes, like, yeah, we all hear things we want to be able to do, but chances are you can do something that someone else really wishes they could do. So leverage what you already have going on. If you have a naturally low voice, but you want to sing high, well, like you just saw, somebody just asked, how do you sing those low notes? Your low voice, just because it's easy, doesn't mean it's not good. There's this, like, I think very human thing where we wanna challenge ourselves, which is good, but at the same time, you don't have to wait to be able to do that crazy thing. You can start where you are a lot of the time, so it's something to think about. starting with your strength, starting where it feels easy. Again, just because it feels easy doesn't mean it's not impressive. Your easy singing might feel boring to you, but it's very interesting to the listener. How often are you watching someone sing and you're like, wow, it looks so easy and effortless? Yeah, that's entertaining. When someone is clearly struggling, that's not very fun to watch. So it's great to start in a spot where you feel really confident. Ryan did I get that right or is it Aaron? Sorry. If you get breathy when you go high, is it because your IA muscles are too weak? Good question. So I typically would answer this. Not getting into the muscular talk. E-rain? E-rain? Got you, I think. Or maybe you're saying it. I'm doing the phonetic alphabet. I is E, pronounce E, but you might be saying I, rain. So sorry about that. Okay. But here's how I would answer this question because I'm not confident in my muscular. Okay. I'm not confident in my muscular physiological pedagogy in this sense. I can talk about the vocal folds and how your buccal muscles and your breath and everything help with the vibration of your vocal folds and everything. But this is how I would approach the breathiness without hearing you as you go high. It could be a number of different things. It could be starting to get out of your range. It could be squeezing, like squeezing. It could be your larynx, like going up a little bit too much. It could be using too much air as you go high. Maybe you really don't need as much air as you for your particular voice, and some of that air is escaping. It depends on the type of sound you want. So let me know what type of singing you're doing. Or do you mean like, oh, like head voice up there, or are you doing pop or rock? Because those are two different, or pop or rock, like mixed voice, chest voice, belty type, belty-ish. Just let me know, and then that might help a little bit. You're described as a warm tenor. Okay. So do you do more classical singing then? Or do you do more contemporary microphone styles or a mix of both? Let's see. My singer, folk songs. Okay. So folk songs, I'm going to assume, this is a lot of assuming going on. I haven't heard you, but folk songs are more light, yeah, contemporary and folk, more light singing a lot of the time, more head voicey. So, hey, sweet Annie, why take it so bad, bad? So, that type of singing, you want, again, like Chris was saying, find your sweet spot, the sweet spot comment. Um, it could be just a little high, and you might have to bring it down a little bit. Another thing is if it is head voice, you might need to use a little bit more or a little less breath, play around with it. But if it's head voice, it might be you might need a little more breath. So, ah, um, lifting back here, lowering the larynx a little bit, like a slight yawny feeling, not a ton, just a little. See how it moves a little bit. Doing just a little yawn as you get up high for that sort of breathy voice. Um, but it depends on what you're after because you listen to someone like Bruno Major. Check him out. And he seems to take pretty small breaths because his volume is very, very low. So it's kind of a thing where it depends on what you're doing. So whatever advice I'm giving here, just factor in like, okay, well, yeah, that would work because I'm doing something more like Bruno Major, or no, I want it to be a fuller head voice. So then I'm gonna lift more and lower the larynx more and something a little more with a little more fullness and volume. Two different approaches. So I hope that helps. Feel free to throw in any more comments like you want to add about that, and we can keep talking about this. Okay, back to Chris says, I was focused on mix for like 6 years. It stopped me from singing. I even almost gave up because as a baritone, I thought I couldn't do pop. That's wrong. I love folk pop. Awesome. Yeah, it's good when you can just stop and go, you know what? Maybe this is not hitting right now, but I'm going to keep going because I have some other things I can do. I don't need to feel limited by not being able to achieve this one very specific thing right now. Yeah, if it's stopping you from doing what you love, then I'm really glad you decided to stick with it. The main thing in singing, he says, it is meaning what you sing, just like acting. Yeah, I agree. If you're just singing to just entertain, I don't think it would be very good or emotional. Think of singers that can't sing but mean what they sing. Bob Dylan, he can't sing. Yeah, this is something I like to bring up sometimes as well. It's like, at the end of the day, it's about building an emotional connection or telling a story, telling a story through music. When you think about a play, it's about telling a story through dialogue and physicality. And when you listen to opera, it's telling a story through the voice. Not necessarily about all the movement. It's more about the storytelling within the voice in a certain way. And it's the same with any type of singing or music. It's really important to think about that and realize, you know what, at the end of the day, it's about expression. I love that. I love that you brought that up. A lot of times when I learn a song, he says, I always sing it in C or A, then transpose to fit my range. Good idea. Yeah. So I noticed that, for me as well, if I'm in C and I'm singing like a song that's usually sung by a tenor, I'm probably gonna move the capo up 2, so like a whole step. Or sometimes if it's in like A, I might bring it up to 5 um, on my capo to the 5th fret, that type of thing. That's the kind of stuff you're gonna start noticing as you sing and get a little more into it. Kind of, oh, this key is really good for me. But more importantly, um, like going back to the sweet spot again, everybody has a part of their voice where it really sounds nice and different strengths. So, you know, once you figure that out, you can start to kind of move songs to where they're comfortable. And if you don't play guitar, if you aren't able to transpose on your own, there's websites like Moises, which wasn't around a few years ago. We were all of us teachers were having to use all these different things to put the song in a different key for our students. But now there's apps and websites like Moises where you can take the song and put it in a different key that fits you, and you can play around with a number of keys. So, it's really cool, and it's really important to do that because, you know, if you just are sticking to the original key for all the songs you sing, you might be leaving some things uncovered. And yeah, you might find some keys that are your favorite and things like that. Okay, so we've got a comment here. Pavarotti can sing C5 in a full voice and not be breathy, which means every tenor can do it, right or wrong. Oh, yeah, Pavarotti's just one voice. And there are different types of tenors. And so, not necessarily. Depends on the person. Depends on the person. It really does. It helps. I will tell y'all, if you don't know what your voice type is, am I a soprano? Am I an alto? Or a mezzo? Am I a tenor? Am I a bass? Very helpful to find out, or to at least be in the ballpark. Like, I'm probably a soprano or I'm probably a mezzo. And here's why. Is for reasons like this. You can go, well, most tenors can hit this note. So I feel like I'm almost there, so that's a good thing to work towards. Or most tenors have a break here around this note. So I know that I should probably proceed with caution when I'm around these notes because me and a lot of other tenors have to tread carefully around our breaks. And that's similar for all the voice types. It's like sopranos, they generally have their breaks around B, F, B4, um, and like F sharp 5. So it's very common to be like, "Oh, I start the song." I remember this song in college I was singing that started on an F. It was really hard. So, but because you know that, you're able to approach approach the song with that in mind and with an educated approach. You're not just like, "Well, that sounded terrible and I don't know why." It's like, "Well, you're in your break, so you have to sing it with less breath and like thread the needle." Chris says my break is F4. That makes sense because you're a tenor and typically tenors and sopranos well, you're a baritone, but I would say you're kind of a baritone maybe. Um, but it's typical to kind of have an octave difference between the voice parts. So like if you're a soprano and you're a tenor or maybe a baritone, your breaks are going to be in similar places but an octave different. It's kind of weird. I think it might be just a coincidence, but you guys let me know if you need help navigating your breaks or any other questions about singing. I love talking about this stuff. I love answering your questions. And it's really fun for me. I do this every Thursday, almost every Thursday. I almost didn't do one today because I do have to perform tomorrow and I wanted to save my voice a little bit, but I think I'm going to be okay. So I was like, all right, I'll jump on. But yeah, I'm preparing some 80s tunes for tomorrow and I'm really excited. Like some, geez, what's one of the songs? I don't know if y'all know. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Do y'all know that song by The Cars? The Cars slaps. Is anyone listening to The Cars in 2025 that's watching this at any point? Let me know. I love The Cars. One of my students got me into The Cars. He also got me into the song Ghost in You. Have y'all heard that song? Dun, 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 dun. Ain't it all- Anyway, it's a really pretty song. All right, so we've got a question or a comment. Here we go. The main struggle is the breath. I can't sing a whole phrase in the lowest part of the chest voice. And yeah, let's talk about breaks. I like the way you phrased that, Ahmed. Okay. So if you're struggling with breath in the lowest part of your chest voice, um I know I say this a lot on here, but you might be taking too big of a breath and you're holding it in because you're worried about running out of breath and that's like exhausting you. So that's a possibility. Like, man in my shoes runs a light and that I feel like I'm running out of air even though I have a ton of air and it's because I'm holding it in. So that could be part of it. Or maybe it's not enough air because you do need a little more breath when you're in your low range. So maybe you're not using enough. So, man in my shoes runs a light. Ba, ba, da. Okay, I need a bigger breath. A man in my shoes runs a light. Yeah, it is hard though. If it's out of your range, I'm noticing I'm singing a low song to kind of nail down what you're doing. Could be just too low. Might be too low for you. But maybe not. I haven't heard you. So I'm not positive, but that's what happens to me if it's too low. It's like it takes a lot of air to sing super low, more air. And so that could be what it is. And talking about breaks, so I had a great piece of advice from a tenor friend years ago, and he explained the passaggio. The passaggio, or the Italian passaggio is your break. It's the original word. And what's interesting is passaggio means passage. So when you think about your vocal breaks, they're when your voice transitions, right? And it looks like an hourglass shape. So you've got your low voice here, maybe your middle voice here. And there's that passage, that narrow passage. That's why I say thread the needle, because it is like threading a needle. You have all this breath and energy, and then you have to really ease up on the gas. Transition. And when you transition, you have to really ease up on the gas. Why is that so hard? Because it's counterintuitive. A lot of us, as we get higher, we think we need more energy and more breath. That's actually not true. It's more like this wave effect. And everyone's a little different. And it's based on how heavy your voice is. It's based on the style of singing you're doing. And the great news is, yeah, maybe you don't know right now what to do in your breaks, but with a little bit of experimenting and just by opening up that idea of, oh, maybe I need less breath or less intensity instead of more, you could really realize, oh, I just need to use less breath in my break. Or more. I mean, I doubt it. I doubt it's more, but just experimenting. But that's the tricky thing about your breaks. Typically, you have to dial down the intensity, but then sort of speed up the airflow again as you get higher. It's kind of a trial and error type thing, and that's what voice lessons are for instance, is like me going, oh yeah, yeah. So this is in your break. This is in your break. So for this part, you actually have to bring down the volume, maybe even bring down the intensity and maybe lift here a little more. There's all sorts of little things you can do to mitigate that. Okay, so Chris says, but the thing is, tenors aren't staying at A4 to C5 the whole song. Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, you're going to have your sweet spots, but a song isn't always going to stay in your sweet spot. You're going to have to venture out. Something to think about for sure. And that's hard, but that's where technique comes in, and that's where leveraging your strengths and at least trying, you want to aim for the climax of a song, or that really oh yeah, this is the best part of the song, to be in your sweet spot. That's ideal. Doesn't always happen, but that's ideal. Like Chapel Roan is so good at doing that. She's so good at putting those satisfying moments in those parts of her voice that just soar, you know what I mean? So we've got some great little suggestions: Birds, Carpenters, Monkeys, John Denver, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Yeah, so many different song artists from the 80s that are so fun, and I feel like today's music is very much influenced by the 80s with all the synth and a lot of Lady Gaga stuff. Like there's some David Bowie influence right now, and Prince influence and on her newest album. So it's really awesome to see that kind of coming around. We're living in a really cool time for music because there's so much out there, right? Yeah. Well, if anybody has any more questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm going to be wrapping this up shortly, but I've had a great time with y'all. Thanks for coming out. I do this every Thursday. I love to answer your questions. If you're watching this at a later time, go ahead and ask your questions in the comments, and I will answer them next week on the live. I love having pre-planned questions, and then if you can't make it to the live, then I can answer them for you. But most importantly, I hope y'all are happy and healthy. Take care of yourselves. And if there aren't any more questions, okay. Well, thank y'all so much. It's been a pleasure. And I will see you at the next one. I'm going to be playing the outro. So thank y'all.